Well, let's take you back to our first story now, which is developing. That's the story on the Kaduna Abuja bound train attack, wherein we have family of a 90-year-old grandmother, 53-year-old, and two others were released yesterday. That's on earlier on Friday. And we have the lead negotiator, Malam Mamu Takro, joining us from Kaduna to talk to us about what the situation is right now. It's good to have you join us on the news at this time. Before we get to ask about the magic, if I would call it that, of what you do, which is negotiating and dialoguing with this terrorist, can you first of all talk to us about the condition of the family that was released yesterday and two others that were released yesterday, and what's the situation of the 23 others still in captivity?
Yeah, good day, Nigerians. The situation, as I told them yesterday, is nothing different from what we have seen from the previous victims that were released. Their situation is really pathetic, and these are victims, even by physical appearance. You know that they need urgent medical attention. And it is better imagine, we all know the situation as it is now. This is raining season. They are in the forest of Niger State, and then the rain is very heavy. The condition is not habitable, and there's no any medication. Prior to the release of the only medical doctor, he was the only one that is providing little assistance to them. And as he was released, the condition of most of the victims deteriorated to an uncertain level. And that is why I have been calling on authorities, based on the information available to me, that there is no limit or boundaries to negotiation, especially in a situation whereby, lives of innocent people is being threatened on a daily basis. We shouldn't wait as a people, we shouldn't wait as a government until when something bad started happening, God forbid, before we will say we will act. The time to act is now. This is getting too long. We are almost entering the fifth month of this unfortunate abduction. And I think it calls for serious and urgent action, especially from the federal government.
One would imagine, why is it taking so long to have their release, get them out of the captives' hands? What's the problem?
This is really worrisome, and I cannot really comprehend, the delay, because in a situation whereby, the dialogue and mediation option is producing the desired result. And this is just by a single individual or some group of concerned Nigerians. So, for example, if government can really come in, with full force, to engage these people, this is something I have been repeating that can be completed, within 3, 4, 5 days maximum, because we have proven to the world that dialogue, is achieving the desired result, and that these people, nobody can justify the kind of things they have been doing, especially related to these innocent victims. But when you engage them sincerely, you will get results, and that is the frustrating aspect of the whole thing. And I really cannot know, even though, to be fair to government, every time they assure Nigerians and they tell us that they are doing everything within their capacity to ensure the release of the remaining victims. But I think in a situation like this, what Nigerians and especially the family of the victims want is to see result, not mere assurances. They have been given assurances, since the first day of the adoption. Now is almost 5 months. So whatever you are doing or whatever you are achieving, as a government, if, for example, there is nothing commensurate or the result cannot be visible for people or Nigerians to see on the ground, I think something is really wrong somewhere. or the approach, is really wrong. More so in a situation whereby both the government and all of us stakeholders are convinced that the present situation has no military solution. The present situation, requires only dialogue if we are to ensure the safe return of these innocent victims. And that informs, I believe, why there has not been any military action since this abduction. And it is the best, in the interest of these innocent victims, as long as we want to preserve their lives, as long as we want this thing to end as soon as possible. And as I keep repeating, even if, for example, we must have succeeded in securing all these innocent victims, that is not the end. Government knows, and government should know that that is not the end. In a situation whereby these people, are threatening, especially vulnerable communities, especially vulnerable people, especially, with the threat to execute and carry attacks at will, I think something needs to be done, to ensure a lasting peace, especially for commuters. And we didn't even look at the economic aspect. I have been told that government has lost over 4 billion naira revenue for the train services since these unfortunate incidents happened. So I think we really need to explore, the opportunity we have before it is too late. Especially when lives of innocent people, clearly, especially the common people, is being threatened. The condition is so bad, and the frightening development is that virtually all the people that are in the forest now, these are people that cannot even negotiate their way out, and sincerely, they cannot.
I was going to ask you, Malam Tukur, the story that you told us yesterday about a 21-year-old who a condition right now is in the limbo, if you consider what you said, that the top commander of the terrorist has professed love for her, and this could be another case of Leah Sharibu case. I want you to talk to us about what the situation is, and also, are there new demands or conditions for the unconditional release of these 23? And do you think we can actually find a lasting solution to this kind of push and pull situation?
I can tell you quite confidently that if government can take control and if government can take charge of this situation, certainly this thing will come to an end. But in a situation whereby, as a government, for example, you encourage or allow individual family members to reach out to these people and then negotiate the release of their loved ones, certainly the only thing is that many of them that cannot even afford to negotiate or to find their way out, then definitely they will have to remain there for as long as possible. So, but for example, when government take charge of the whole situation, approach these people in a manner that will be understanding to both, I believe that this matter can come to an end. But the present situation is that in view of, for example, lack of clear direction from the government on how best to ensure the release of these victims as soon as possible, all individual family members are all reaching out, to them and then negotiating their release out. As for this innocent young girl, so far the youngest I can say, apart from the other kid, Azurba, this is something Nigerians should take seriously. This is something I'm not just raising alarm unnecessarily. This is something Nigerians should take seriously, and if we did not act, as especially as a government, to prevent what I am seeing, I can assure you that we will virtually see the replica of the case of Lee Sharibu. And if, for example, we will allow that, honestly, I think the nation or even the leadership should be held responsible for whatever happens. Certainly, as reported, the second commander, I was reliably informed he is in love with her, and they are even contemplating to marry her any moment from now. and that informs, my call for the leadership of the country and the Christian Association of Nigeria in particular, to reach out to various stakeholders to initiate the release of this young girl as soon as possible. Because if for example, the threat of this forced marriage or forced conversion into Islam, is allowed, I believe no amount of dialogue or negotiation will ensure her release. So it is better to act as fast as possible before it is too late. We don't have any excuses. At least we should be lucky that we are even privileged to know what is about to happen. In a situation whereby you didn't know, maybe one will claim ignorance, and then maybe the action will not be forthcoming. But in this circumstance and in this situation, we should not just dismiss this as empty threats or something that they cannot do. If we go back to history, even before the case of Lee Sharibu, this thing has happened to some of the Chibok girls.
Yes.
Some of them they just find them. So I think we have well documented evidences that they are in the habit of doing this, and this case will not be an exception if it happens. The only difference in this case is that we are privileged to have credible information and the possibility of, for example, engaging them to allow this girl to go home. I think if government is sincere and if the approach is as fast as possible, I think we can achieve the desired result.
League negotiator Malam Mahmoud Tukur, thank you so much for joining us on the News this hour. We sincerely hope that we get to see the safe return of this 23 that are still in the captive of the terrorists that attacked the Kaduna bound train on March 20.